little bit of throttle at the end, begin the flare. There we go. Got a nice vortex going down the taxiway too. What's going on, YouTube? John here. Today we're going to be flying at my local airport as always, but today we got a little twist. I'm going to be doing a landing tutorial for the F5 now that I've kind of got it figured out for the most part, and we're going to be testing the performance of these SMC packs. Funny enough, they're in Virginia, which is right up the street in a way from North Carolina, the part where I'm at anyway, next to Raleigh, the state capital. So what we're going to be able to do here is test just how powerful these things are in comparison to the Zeee packs that I've been using. They're similarly priced, and I've heard so much about them, so we're gonna give them a fair shake. I ordered a 4500 and a 4000 pack, and we're gonna see just what they can actually do. So we're gonna cut here while I get the battery ready to install, and then we'll be right back. We're gonna pop this open. Again, we are also using the KMRC Model.com afterburner system for this, which is a universal center burner. Works pretty well. Go ahead and get this battery installed. Let's check the CG. I'd rather fly it a little nose heavier than tail heavy for sure. This, not even tail heavy, but just with some weight on the tail. Let's get this thing on the taxiway. That'd be the best idea. All right, so I think about right here would probably be good. Kind of reduce the amount of weight being pushed on the nose because it'll pop the canopy off, even with the extra magnet that I just put on it a little while ago. Okay, afterburner's plugged in. And this is the 40C 4000 pack. Supposedly SMC packs have a true C rating. For those of you who don't know, C rating is the amount of discharge that the battery is capable of. So we're supposed to be looking at 40 times 4000. I can't do the math on top, like off the top of my head, but it should be really powerful. So we'll see how that all goes. We're gonna test this thing out first, make sure we can get it to fly first and foremost. Let's make sure that the afterburner is working. It is. All right.
Flaps 50, aileron.
We're just gonna take off with ailerons. Go ahead and get her taxied around, get her take off. And then we'll do some speed testing, make sure that the GPS is working. Looks like the GPS is not working yet, so we're gonna cut here until it turns on. All right, so we're back. The GPS finally initialized. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna actually pop out on my screen. I'm gonna start recording what I'm doing so that you guys can see the GPS speed in real time so that I don't have to just rely on the call outs for it. So we're gonna go ahead and get X recorder popped up on my iX20, and then we will get a move on. All right, so we're back. Got the GPS running, I got the on-screen recorder going. Let's get her up and see what we can do. Feels a lot punchier for sure.
70.8 miles per hour.
70 miles an hour just on takeoff. Leaving the ailerons off for right now. Gonna go level speed pass.
Miles per hour.
So I'm noticing the ESC is still cutting out. I may have to swap the ESC out. It may actually be faulty. Let's get a level speed or a dive test going. Pull her around.
One minute, 118.7 miles per hour.
118. So it definitely seems like it's an ESC issue rather than a battery issue. It's just not pulling out the amount of power it should be.
23.35 volts.
It's definitely holding better voltage under load though.
Miles per hour.
Still not getting the full speed I was hoping to get. So again, I do think it's the ESC. I'll have to swap it out to one that's not as likely to have issues.
22.93 volts.
Going for another dive.
118.7 miles per
Still
hour.
can't beat the Zeee packs that I had. That's interesting. What's our current voltage?
23.17 volts.
So I thought this was going to make a major difference, but if I had to wager a guess, I'm going to say that the cutting out sounds we heard with the ESC is probably an issue with the ESC itself. So, such is life. That's just how it goes sometimes. We'll have to just pull out the ESC that it's using and try a different one. Maybe even reduce the timing, that might help too. I know the KMRC burner looks good though, at the very least. I can see it up there while I'm flying.
6 volts. miles per hour.
That's a little underwhelming.
22.2 volts.
But what are you gonna do, right? Good thing I've got another 100 amp ESC to work with, so we can still get some performance testing. Let's try that one more time though. Go a little higher.
118.7 miles per hour.
And to hit the altitude button.
622.4 feet.
That's not 600 feet.
Flight pack 125.5 miles per hour.
Okay, so we did actually beat the top speed from earlier.
22.27 volts.
Let's get one more pass going. I will say that these batteries are definitely holding voltage way better than the Spectrum batteries are. One more dive pass, a little higher.
Flight pack 21.18 volts. 126.8 miles per hour.
So I hit 126 instead of 123. Not half bad. Still could be significantly improved, so we'll have to mess with that a bit. The rest of this video is definitely just going to be a landing tutorial because right now I think it's the ESC holding it back.
Full flaps.
Flaps coming in. Little bouncy, little on the bouncy side, but we'll take it.
Flaps up.
Came down safe, that's all that matters. All right, landing tutorial coming right up, but for now, calling it quits here. All right, so we're back with the Freewing F5 80mm, and unfortunately, I do think that the ESC might need to be swapped out to a different 100 amp. I've got another Spectrum one laying around. I'm actually using it in the pits, so I may just pull it out of that and put this one in there because the pits doesn't pull anywhere near as much power as this does. It's the nice thing about prop planes, they're a little bit more efficient. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just settle in for some landing practice. I need it, and if I'm gonna learn, I figure I might as well show you guys what I've learned as well while I'm learning. So for this one, we're not gonna use the on-screen display for the GPS because it's kind of pointless, but let's get this battery tucked, or that strap tucked in a little bit better. But we are going to definitely utilize the chest cam. Unlike last time, I actually forgot to turn it on, but it wasn't really necessary for doing a speed test. I don't know if you guys can hear it. You might be able to hear it in the camera, but I'm getting swarmed with bugs, and it's a good thing I put on some Johnson & Johnson Picaridin spray because that stuff is making a huge difference. I don't mind them being around my face too much as long as they're not in my eyes and ears. So the gnats aren't really bothering me today, thankfully. Okay, getting that chest cam running. And double check our systems real quick.
Ailerons.
Looks like we're good to go. Recording the screen so you guys can see what's going on. Flaps coming in, and let's do it. Just gonna do a series of touch and goes.
Flaps up, gear up.
And a wing stall, as I pulled up, almost like I pulled up too hard.
22.68 volts.
Yeah, so the SMCs are way better because I was under load earlier with them, and I had, what was it, 23.5 volts at half throttle rather than 22, so they're definitely better. I'm definitely gonna keep buying them. Recommend you guys do it too. When it comes to these jets though, let's get into the point of the landing tutorial. This is a very highly loaded wing. So the way you fly it is gonna be a little different than how you fly other ones. You can't pull the elevator as aggressively. And you gotta be very gentle with how you glide it in.
24.48 volts.
A highly loaded wing is likely to stall much easier. Notice I'm using very little input, although I have a lot of high expo. So that kind of dampens my movement. I've had people critique and complain that I move my sticks too much. I prefer high expo with high throws. If I don't have high expo with high throws, I have a jet that feels nearly uncontrollable to me. I grew up using, what do you call it, a bigger dead stick for flying simulators, and I prefer the way it feels. Your mileage and airspeed may vary. All right, so just keep the wings level as always with every model as much as you can. Chop throttle as you get close to the ground. Begin the flare. Got bugs in my eyes, unfortunately. Feel like Ants in My Eyes Johnson from Rick and Morty right now. All right, leveling out.
22.7 volts.
It's not a hard model to land, you just have to prepare for it. So it's good to get your gear out a little early before you turn to final here. Definitely drop flaps once you level the wings. With how easily this plane stalls with aggressive maneuvering, you'd want to have the flaps out when the wings are close to level. As always, it'll minimize the amount of the risk of pulling the elevator as much. There's a touch and bounce and go. I'm still learning how to land this as well as I could, so you guys are learning along with me. Hopefully you can see my screen for the transmitter pretty well.
2 losses, 22.41 volts. Ailerons 8 right.
There we go. I don't know if there's turbulence coming off those trees or what, but the plane keeps rolling every time it gets over them, so just go ahead and correct for that.
Flaps.
All right, just keep an eye on the sticks here, see what I'm doing.
7 minutes.
Gentle movements. It looks like a lot, but Expo is dampening everything out. Keeping a little bit of thrust, letting the plane settle in.
Flaps gear up.
And you got a transmitter trace in my
21.3 volts.
so my movements of the transmitter don't come through. They just stay put and you guys can get a better view.
22.25 volts.
Got another, maybe 1 or 2 more of these we can do before the model gets a little too
Gear down.
low on electrical fuel here, battery level, whatever you want to call it. Leveling the wings, dropping the flaps. Flaps come in on a 4-second timer. You can hold the nose down to keep airspeed up, that helps too. One of my best landings so far. I'm keeping half throttle, we don't need much more.
0.7 volts.
It's a pretty powerful motor that feels like it's being constrained by what the ESC can push out. The motor is definitely trying to push out more than 100 amps it feels, or it seems.
Stabilators 10 up.
There we go. A little bit more trim.
21.93 volts.
Okay, this can make the last one after this, and then we'll bring it down after this last touch and go.
Gear down.
Go a little higher this time. Full flaps coming in as we begin to level the wings. Sorry that we have the hat cam only today, guys, but Tony's not here. He's hanging out with his wife today. So I gotta make do. And I prefer shooting landing tutorials without somebody there filming. It just makes it easier for me. With the proper elevator settings, the plane almost
21.39 volts.
glides itself in.
2 volts.
Okay, this is gonna definitely be the last landing we do. Just gonna do nice lazy ovals here. I'm hoping this helps you guys out. I always try to give back to the community. I've learned so much from other people and through my own research. I feel like it's just poor form and not a good thing to help this hobby grow if you don't try to help other people out. Definitely this plane is not as hard to fly as I initially thought it was. It was just a little wonky with that one gear sticking out, but it does have the tendency to bite if you're not careful. Okay, we'll hold the stabs up. Oh, there goes a coon. That's cute. Haven't seen one of those in a long time. All right, so she's got a nice turn radius on the pavement here, so we will go ahead and just rotate her around. And then I'm gonna kill the chest cam now because we don't need it anymore. Something else you may notice too in the past few days is that I actually like this jet so much, I spent the time to gloss it. So now it's got a nice glossy polyacrylic finish from Minwax. Took me a little bit, it's not perfect. It's gonna get dinged up just flying it anyway. I don't need it to be mirror perfect. I just need it to kind of reflect the sunlight. We're gonna go ahead and take it up and do one quick speed test with it. And then we're gonna bring it down and then we're gonna start doing touch and goes and see what we can get. All right, get the chest cam running.
Throttle open.
Make sure the camera's pointed up so we don't lose any footage. Going to great lengths for you guys. Oh, this is with the SMC 4000 pack, so you might have seen it earlier. I'm not sure if you did.
Ailerons. Ailerons. AS3X.
All right.
Ailerons.
Flaps coming out. Chest camera running. Let's point it up a little bit more so you guys can see a bit more of the screen. Oh. I need to reverse that aileron. I had to change some stuff, and it's a good thing I did a pre-flight right there. Look at those ailerons. They're both moving up and down. I would have had no roll. So we need to reverse the right aileron. And double check and make sure our directions are correct one more time. That would have been disaster if I hadn't done my standard quick pre-flight check. So the receiver doesn't care if it's reversed, as long as you didn't program it, tell it that it was reversed. Now it should have no issues, theoretically. All right, here we go. Half flaps for takeoff.
Flaps up. Gear up.
That was an interesting takeoff. The ESC still cut out. I think I need to change that for sure.
Stabilators 2 up.
She feels almost tail heavy right now, but she's not. Tail heavy is a terrible term. She just feels a little weird. Okay. Okay, you're getting too far away from me here, baby. All right, let's go ahead and just do landing practice now. That was weird. Something ain't working the way it should be.
Gear down. Full flaps.
Flaps coming in. I think I just need to push the battery further forward. Wow, that was terrible. Back with the SMC 4500 40C pack. These are supposed to be some of the best batteries you can get. I'm going to probably keep ordering these as long as they're still in stock. I love their performance. This one especially. I got some of my best flying on the last flight where I think I didn't even have my stick camera active, so I may even just go back and dub over it with real flight just so I don't lose the footage, because it was actually pretty good. We will see. Let's check the center of gravity real quick though. Yeah, right about there, right here is pretty good, I'd say. Okay, we got everything we need. Let the plane initialize. I'm using my bicycle gloves that I use for my road bicycling. Help keep my hands from slipping off the handlebar tape. It's also going to help keep my hands from slipping off of the transmitter in these warmer months. It's starting to get somewhat pleasant out here, but it's like 85 degrees. It's not too bad with a little bit of wind. All right, we're going to take off right to left here. We're going to keep up what we've been doing. I'm going to actually walk down a little further, but we're going to take off first, and then I'll walk down and get set up for the approach.
Throttle open.
All right, flaps out.
50.
Transmitter camera on. Here we go.
Flaps up. Gear up.
I almost feel like it's still on the slightly too far back side of the center of gravity, but it seems like it's flying okay. And we're going to walk a little further over here so we have a better perspective of the jet as it comes in. Definitely doing my best to help you guys keep you from losing your F5s. It's not a plane you want to get the most center of gravity out of. You don't want neutral with this thing. Nose heavy is perfectly fine.
Full flaps.
Level the wings out, drop the flaps, add a little bit of thrust. The flaps are very effective, so you want to have a little bit of thrust.
24.46 volts. Flaps up. Gear up.
I like how it makes like a squawk or a skirt sound as it lands. It's got that full scale kind of tire touch sound to it, the screech that it makes. It's pretty cool.
Stabilators 6 up.
Could have gone a little bit further forward on the battery, I think. All right, we're gonna go ahead and line her up for another approach. Again, just watch my hands. It may look like I'm moving a lot, but I use a lot of expo.
96 volts. Gear down. Full flaps.
Flaps coming in as the wings are leveled. The nice glide slope here. We've got to keep a little bit of thrust, not too much, just enough to keep it level, and approaching good.
Flaps up. Gear up.
There we go. It's a good little model. It's definitely a more advanced model to fly, unless you fly it incredibly nose heavy. I'm not currently doing that, so it's more prone to stalling than it would be if you had it to be a little bit nose heavier. Okay, so if I can get a little lower this time, have a better glide slope. Flaps coming in, there we go. Now we can use the power to maintain our glide slope. Let's get lined up. Pretty good landing, probably the best one so far. It's been 7 days since I last flew, roughly. Shoot a lot of content and then go out later on and then keep going.
23.26 volts.
This SMC pack is holding voltage so much better. We're at 23.26 after like 3 minutes of touch and goes. That's not bad at all. Zeee packs would have already been complaining by this point. All right.
Full flap. Gear
Flaps
down.
and gear coming out now that we're level. Start adding a little bit of throttle as we get over the threshold.
Flaps, gear up.
Runway's a little bumpy.
22.43 volts.
We're going to keep going until this battery hits about 21 volts under load, and then we'll bring it in safely. There's almost no wind right now. See what our max speed was anyway.
111.2 miles per hour.
That's from the last flight. Okay,
Gear down.
dropping the gear, getting that drag out,
Full flap.
leveling the wings before we pull the elevator. There we go. Little bit of throttle coming in. There we go, looking good. A little bit more, a little bit more.
Flaps up. Gear
She's
up.
a little bouncy. I could probably adjust the flap compensation so she doesn't bounce as much. It's probably what, their 6th touch and go. They get progressively better as I keep doing them. I think I inhaled a bug. Sorry about that. Voltage?
22.38 volts.
Still plenty of power. This is like, these SMCs are off the chart good, and they're not even that expensive either.
Gear down.
All right, coming in with full flaps, leveling the wings before we start pulling the elevator at all. Keeping the thrust in a little bit. There we go. Modulating thrust.
Flaps up. Gear up.
That was less than ideal, but it will still take it. You guys can see where I'm making mistakes too, so
2.09.
maybe it helps you out in 2 ways. You see when I do it right, and you see when I mess it up. As Zach from Tail Heavy Productions put it recently, not every flight
22.59
has to be perfect. You just got to try your best and keep trying to improve. I'm always learning, and you guys definitely
Gear down.
could always
Full flap.
keep that attitude too and keep learning. It's just the best thing you can do. Always learn and improve and grow. Keeping those wings level as best we can. Coming in, a little bit of thrust. Got a nice
Gear up.
couple wingtip vortices coming off there.
21.61 volts.
Not even getting a voltage warning yet. That's really good.
22.41 volts.
I think we're gonna make this next one the last one. Last thing I want to do is run these batteries down too early. I don't know what their tolerance is for this kind of stuff, so we'll make this a final approach.
10 minutes. Gear down.
Dropping the gear.
Full flap.
Flaps coming out as we level out. See if we can make this the best landing yet. Nose down so we can stop having such a steep glide slope.
22.75.
Hold the stabs back to air brake a little bit, and there we go. And it looks like I got my recording too on the chest camera. Let's turn it off. Looks like it actually finished recording, so I think the factory reset is what it needed. I've been running that GoPro 7 for quite a few years, so it's just getting annoyed, I think. For as much as it's been used, it's finally starting to show its age. So I hope this really helps you guys out. Again, my name's John, if you're new to the channel. I try to be as helpful as I can be, even if my hair looks atrocious right now. I can see myself in the preview and I look ridiculous. But that's what happens when you wear a hat cam on your head. That's just how it is. Little F5 survives yet again. I love the gloss finish. I can always go over that with you guys in the future if you want a tutorial on that. I need to find some content to shoot here pretty soon. It's getting too damn hot to do much else. In the meantime, we're gonna wrap it up here, and hopefully we have enough content for just a little bit longer. Really appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you again out there. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.
Heading.